health stuff going on recently. The updates are kind of threefold. We're gonna talk a little bit about my teeth, a little bit about my lungs, and a little bit about my head. So I guess we'll start out with my lungs, since that's what's been kind of going on the longest, and that's probably the thing that you guys have noticed the most. I've gotten some comments about it, so I know that it's apparent that I've been dealing with a lot of shortness of breath as of late. You can hear it in my videos when I'm talking sometimes. Trying to get enough air has been a struggle. I was diagnosed with sarcoidosis a few years back, which is an inflammatory disease. I have pulmonary sarcoidosis, so it does affect my lungs. When I first was diagnosed, I was struggling a lot with the same thing I'm struggling with now. Shortness of breath, wheezing, coughing. They thought for a while that I maybe had lung cancer, but ultimately they took some scans of my lungs. They found that I had swollen lymph nodes in my chest that was causing the issue. They did a biopsy. They came back that I have sarcoidosis, and they put me on an inhaled steroid, which I have been on ever since, and that seemed to really help. When I was first diagnosed. I haven't really had any issues since. Occasionally I will have an episode of shortness of breath, or I'll have a little bit of a flare-up, but it usually is pretty short-lived, and it is based on like the weather outside, or you know, like asthma type situation, but then it goes away pretty quickly. Well, for the last several weeks I've been dealing with the shortness of breath, the wheezing. I went for a walk with a friend and Austin's girlfriend back a couple of weeks ago. We walked to the track at the school, and it was like a mile. It wasn't even super quick, like high intensity walk, and I struggled to walk and talk at the same time because I couldn't get enough air. And that was the first time that had ever happened to me. It really scared me. So I had a follow-up with my pulmonologist this past week, told her what was going on. So she scheduled me for a CT scan. I have a CT scan Friday morning at 6 a.m. I gotta be at the hospital at 5:30. I haven't had any scans since my diagnosis, so I'm interested to see what that shows. They're probably gonna end up putting me on steroids, corticosteroids, which have really nasty side effects, but that will hopefully help me catch my breath. I don't know if I'm just having a flare-up or if I've got scarring on my lungs from the previous flare-up or what, but we will find that out, and hopefully I will get some relief because I can't breathe. When I check I have one of those little things you put on your finger to check your oxygen. I can't think of what they're called, pulse ox. When I check that, my oxygen level is right around, 96 to 98. So it's not that I'm not getting enough oxygen, it just feels like I can't breathe. It feels like I can't catch my breath. So I don't know if it's like I'm breathing in fine, but I'm not breathing out properly. I don't really know how it all works. I just know I'm miserable. Can't breathe. Some days are better than others. Today especially I'm struggling. You can probably hear it. So I'm anxious to get this figured out and under control. The other thing that I've been dealing with is headaches. And the thing about sarcoidosis is I have pulmonary sarcoidosis, but it also can manifest in lots of other ways. It can manifest on your skin with like rash, which I've had in the past. I'm still not entirely convinced that that was sarcoidosis related. I truly think that back when I was dealing with that full body, very itchy rash, that was an allergic reaction to the medication they gave me. But could have been sarcoidosis. I mean, I'm not a doctor. It also can manifest in the eyes and in the brain. So when I started getting headaches, which are different headaches than I've ever had before, they're back here and they're very mild, they're very short typically, but they're every single day. So like I'll get a pain here and it's sort of like stinging or aching almost. No, stinging or burning almost. And it usually lasts 10 minutes or less, but it's been every single day. So this, I went and saw a neurologist telling them, you know, I have sarcoidosis, so I just want to make sure there's nothing going on. And he's like, okay, well, he did a physical exam, like a neuro exam. He said, all of that looks good. It doesn't sound like it's anything to be too concerning. It might just be like migraines or whatever, but because of your history of sarcoidosis, we're gonna send you for an MRI. Thus began the adventures in MRIs. So I've had MRIs in the past with no problem. Had them on my brain, no issues. They always ask me, are you claustrophobic? Nope. Well, apparently, now that I'm 40, I'm claustrophobic as hell because I have attempted MRIs multiple times at this point, unsuccessfully. So the first time I went, unbeknownst to me, they had scheduled me in a mobile MRI, which is much smaller than your typical like hospital wide bore MRI machine. So they walked me out to this like janky little trailer that they have parked outside the hospital, and they try to put me in this MRI machine and it's too small. I feel like I don't fit and I panic immediately. Like as they're like moving the table into this machine and it gets to my shoulders and it's like pressing in on my shoulders, I'm like, nope, I'm not gonna fit in this machine. Okay, they tell me a lot of people have that struggle with these mobile MRIs because they're so small. We'll just schedule you at the hospital. You know, don't schedule on Mondays because that's when the mobile MRI machine will try again with a wide bore MRI. Okay, so I scheduled that appointment. I come back a week later or whatever. They put me in this MRI machine and I lasted all of like 3 minutes. They were gonna take 5 different pictures of my brain. I made it through 1 before I had a full-blown panic attack. I don't know if it's because of my experience with the mobile MRI that I was like triggered or what, but I panicked. It was really, really bad. So I had to get out of there because they couldn't get all of the pictures. My neurologist still isn't comfortable telling me that there's nothing wrong. So now I'm going back for a 3rd try at the MRI. This time with a Valium to help me relax. I'm really hoping I can make it through it because, you know, I need answers. This is ridiculous. But yeah, having never been claustrophobic before, it surprised me. The visceral experience I had in that MRI machine, I thought I was dying. I couldn't breathe, which I guess could be, you know, the lungs, but mostly it's like having that cage over your face. If you've ever had an MRI of your brain, you know that you're in this confined space. You have to have this like cage over your face to help you not move, and I felt like I was dying, like I was in a coffin or something. So hopefully 3rd time will be the charm. I have to go back next week for that with some medication. My husband has to drive me, and I'm gonna do my absolute best to not pull out of that early because then they're just gonna make me go back. Now, my neurologist did tell me he could get me an appointment with an open MRI, which sounds better when they say it that way, but those MRI machines, they're open on the sides, but they still have the thing right close to your face and you still have to wear the cage. So I don't think that that would help me at all. So if you are claustrophobic or you've dealt with MRIs in the past, you understand. And if you're like you're afraid of an MRI machine. It's just one of those things, if you know, you know. It was really, really bad. So, hopefully I will get that MRI. I'll be able to get through it. And then we'll get some answers as to what's going on. All right. Take a deep breath. Hope you brought a snack. This update's long. Let's talk about my teeth. So, something about me is that I still have baby teeth. My canines here are both baby teeth, and I have a molar, I don't remember which side, in the bottom that's a baby tooth. The molar on the bottom, there's no adult tooth there. It just never developed. We're going to talk about my canines today because the adult canines are impacted, and so they never came down and pushed out the baby teeth that I have here. I have known about this for quite a while. Growing up, I never went to the dentist. My parents couldn't afford it. They were busy like working multiple jobs just trying to keep a roof over our head. So I didn't go to the dentist for the first time until I was in my early to mid 20s, I think. And that was basically just like, it was never preventative care. It was never maintenance. It was always like, oh, I have a toothache, let's go and get it addressed. So now that I'm more financially secure, older, I've just been trying to take better care of my teeth, going for regular cleanings and that sort of thing. And recently in this baby tooth on this side, there's a pretty large cavity in it. These baby teeth are not meant to last 40 years, okay? So I went to my typical dentist. This is the same dentist I've been going to since I was 20 to see if it could be filled or what. And she's like, no, it's too far gone. We have to pull it. Okay. Well, I've had teeth pulled in the past, but they've always been back molars. This is right up in the front. What are we gonna fill that gap with? And she says, we'll get you a little flipper or something to fill that in. Just kind of nonchalant. And then I said, okay, that's fine. And I went to schedule the appointment to have the tooth pulled, and they weren't going to be able to get me in until April. And this was January or February that I was there at the dentist. So I was like, that is way too long. Can you just refer me elsewhere to get the tooth pulled? And she's like, yeah, I'll refer you to this oral surgeon. They can take it out. I said, okay, and then what are we gonna do about filling the gap? I was very concerned about this. She's like, okay, well, they'll figure that out with you. Just kind of flip it. Okay, so I went to that appointment. He talks me through how he's gonna pull this baby tooth. And then when I just tried to discuss with him what I was gonna do to fill this gap, he's like, oh, you'll have to go talk to your dentist about that. We don't do that here. So I kind of felt like I was getting the runaround. Like, my typical dentist was very nonchalant, didn't seem to really care. The oral surgeon was all about taking the tooth out, but couldn't do anything for me. So I was like, you know what, let me get a second opinion. So I found a new dentist. And it's not that the old dentist was bad, it was just that they're trying to just get you in and out and not do anything extra. I think that's basically the situation. They're great about cleanings, they're great about fillings, and that's pretty much it. Anything else that you need, they have to send you elsewhere and whatever. This is not a bash on my old dentist party, but I went to the new dentist, and this new dentist is 100 times better. He looked at the tooth. He said, yes, it needs to be pulled. Let's talk about what we're gonna do to fill that gap. And he told me something that I never even knew was possible. He said, we can pull your impacted teeth down to where we pull this tooth. It's a possibility. No one has ever addressed that with me. No one ever told me that was a possibility. The dentist I saw before basically told me, like, hold on to your baby teeth as long as possible. We don't want to deal with anything beyond that. And that was all they ever said. So I was kind of blown away that this was even an option. So essentially what's going to happen is I'm going to go see an orthodontist and possibly get braces at 40. That was not on my bingo card at all. And I still need to discuss with the orthodontist to see if he thinks it's actually possible. They did like a 3D x-ray of my mouth. He's going to look at all of my teeth, my bite. Because I'm older, being 40, I wish somebody had told me this was an option at 20, but they didn't. Because I'm older, it's a possibility that they can't get my teeth to come down or move. But if they can do that over the course of the next couple of years, I could actually keep all my teeth. Not the baby teeth, they have to come out, but you know, we talked about the different options. They can put a temporary, they can do like a bridge to fill this gap. They could do a dental implant. But the fact that I could like actually keep my teeth, pull these impacted teeth down and be able to use them would be incredible. So the process with this essentially is an oral surgeon will go in, pull the baby teeth. This is the one that's got the cavity. This one's fine, but it just makes sense to do them both at the same time. So he'll pull the baby teeth. He will surgically open up the roof of my mouth where those impacted teeth are. They will connect a chain to a set of braces on my teeth that an orthodontist will place, and it will essentially pull those teeth into place, hypothetically, provided that the orthodontist looks at all the x-rays and says, yes, we're going to try this. I just think that's incredible. Now, am I looking forward to braces for 2 years plus? No. Never in a million years did I think I'd be getting braces ever. But I've got some other issues with my mouth, some bite issues that braces could help correct. I'd be able to keep my teeth. It's going to be uncomfortable and miserable, and I'm going to look goofy for a couple of years. But overall, I'd be able to like save my teeth, and I think that would be fantastic. Now, if I go to the orthodontist and he says, you know, you're too old or they're not in the right position, the other option is to go to that oral surgeon, have those teeth surgically removed, the impacted ones, pull the baby teeth, and do dental implants, which is going to be a lot more expensive. Probably not more expensive, probably less expensive. It's all expensive, but it's going to be harder long term with healing and everything, and then I don't get to keep my teeth, which just isn't as ideal, but it is a good solution if need be. Holy cow, I've been talking a long time. I'm going to wrap this up. Nobody wanted a 20-minute health update, but here we are. So yeah, I go to my CT scan this week, MRI next week, orthodontist the following week. Very, very interesting. Lots of health stuff going on. So leave me a comment down below if you have any experience with any of the above. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you if you actually made it to the end and you care enough about my personal health to watch all the updates. I love you guys so much. And I will see you guys soon with another video.